Hey, welcome to Beat the Odds after a fun wild card weekend. Who's ready for round 2 of these playoffs? We are, and we're going to get you ready too. Beat the Odds starts right now.
From our Las Vegas studios, this is Beat the Odds, sponsored by Superbook Westgate Las Vegas.
And here we go. Welcome to the show, broadcasting from our Las Vegas studio. I'm Dave Hall.
And I'm Mariah Janos. Only 8 teams are still standing. We got the big dogs and a few underdogs. A lot of questions will be answered this weekend.
Yeah, can Dallas slow down Brock Purdy? Can Jacksonville go into KC and beat Mahomes? Will Fat Jack make good on his threat and do the show in a bathing suit?
Oh, okay. So I'm going to say maybe, no, and absolutely not to those questions.
Well, we're going to find out. So coming up on the show, Fat Jack and Teddy will tell us which underdogs are live dogs and if having the bye week is actually not such a great thing. Plus, one of these teams is going to win the whole thing. I'll chat with Brandon Marshall about what separates the contenders from the pretenders.
And this could get awkward, Dave. I'm chatting with a man whose team beat Brandon's team for the title. Former running back Robert Turbin joins us today. He won a title on Seattle's 2013 squad, and now he hosts Late Hits and The Tailgate Show on Sirius XM. I'll be back in a few minutes. Dave, over to you.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Mariah. I can happily report that Fat Jack is indeed wearing pants. Thank you, Jack.
I have been kicking up my self-tanning, so
oh, wow.
I'm prepared if we go that direction.
Well, some people lost their pants betting wild card weekend. What are your guys' takeaways?
Yeah, it's a little bit of something for everybody, right? Had some underdogs, had some favorites get there. A lot going on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, what we want to do always in the postseason, the regular season, doesn't matter. We want to do a little bit of postmortem. We call it a book report. What happened last weekend before we move on to this weekend. So certainly tough beats. We've referenced it already. It'll get referenced forever. Jacksonville rallying from 27-0 deficit to beat the LA Bolts. If you had LA last week, ouch, that was brutal. But it wasn't the only one.
Yeah, the total in the Dallas game, obviously. I mean, Dallas kicker decided he had the yips the entire game, which became a problem because they get right up next to the number. You lose by half a point. I will tell you, it's be interesting to see what they're going to do going forward with their kicker because he's definitely got some issues.
Sure. They brought in a potential replacement this week. We'll see if that plays out on Sunday. But not just bad beats, wrong sides last weekend. Buffalo got bet up, way up, and it looked like they were going to blow out Miami early. Ended up being a tight battle, -9.5 to -14. Buffalo bets, no good. That was wrong side in the end.
Yeah, no, easy with the third-string quarterback. We talked a lot about that. It was going to be hard to put your money there, but that got there. The other one that was easy or the wrong side is the Seattle. When you tried to make a case for Seattle, they went on the road and really got it handed to them. So those are games that you might have been able to exhale and relax a little bit, or maybe you're like, you know what, where's Murder, She Wrote? I got to find something else on right now because it's not going to work.
Sure. And if we're talking book report, a postmortem, we got to talk about the games and the situations where the bettors won and the books lost. And certainly when you're talking about all 5 weekend games getting up and over the total, that not a great result for the house.
Yeah, I had over in those games. I'll tell you that they did make up some with Buffalo not covering and Cincinnati not covering, though, because those backup quarterbacks, hard to walk to the window and play them. They ended up getting there for a lot of bettors out there.
Now, when we see a lot of overs one weekend, does it typically flip the next weekend?
So in the regular season, when you see a bevy of overs, a lot of times the next week you'll look to play unders. I'm not so sure about that right now because we have offenses that are clicking and we have defenses that are getting penalized every time they try to make a play. I'm not in a rush to bet a whole lot of unders this week.
I am flipping back a little bit. I mean, I think there's some regression coming on. I also like the strategy some of these number 1 seeds that we're resting will employ this week. All
right, we'll dive more into that. Thank you, boys. It was a losing weekend for the Vegas books, like Teddy just said. Enjoy it because they don't typically lose 2 weeks in a row. Mariah is at the Superbook Westgate Las Vegas with more.
Thanks, Dave. I am here with Executive Director of Superbook Operations here at the Westgate, John Murray. Now, John, we are coming off of the wildest of super wildcard weekends. Can you just break down what last weekend looked like here at the book?
It was crazy. It was a crazy weekend. Saturday, we were really busy. Took a lot of bets on San Francisco against Seattle. And then the night game, that was the big one, Los Angeles and Jacksonville. Everybody was on Jacksonville. We thought we were going to win. We did not. Los Angeles blew it. Jacksonville won. That was bad for us. Miami covering on Sunday, though, was very good for us, and we did well with Tampa Bay losing to Dallas.
Yeah, I feel that. Now, looking ahead to this weekend's divisional round, what are you guys kind of anticipating, or what are you already seeing from bets being placed?
A lot of people betting on Cincinnati. That's the early game Sunday. They're at Buffalo. They're plus 5.5. Everyone seems to be on that side. Now on Saturday, tricky day for bookmakers. You got the two teams that are a little bit more than a touchdown favorite. Talking about Kansas City and Philadelphia. Challenging handling that. You know where the money's going to come. They're going to parlay those two favorites. They're going to tease those two favorites, and we got to balance the books.
Now, the game with the biggest handle this weekend.
No doubt it's going to be the late game Sunday. I'm talking about Dallas and San Francisco, two high-profile teams, big national fan bases, a lot of history of playing each other in the postseason. They played last year in the wild card round, a game that San Francisco won in Dallas. Now it's in San Francisco. Huge handle game, money on both sides.
Yeah, definitely highly anticipated. All right, John, thank you so much. Dave, we'll send it back to you in studio.
All right, thank you, Mariah. Can New York keep this magical ride going? They're a big underdog to Philly. Teddy, though, has some very interesting numbers about this game. Plus, Brandon Marshall already has the ring that these guys are fighting for. He tells us what separates the champs from the chumps.
And as we head into our first break, how's this for defying the odds? Before last weekend, teams that lost the turnover battles by 5 were 0-26 in the postseason. Jacksonville's improbable win against the Bolts made it 1-26. I don't know if that's going to fly against Kansas City, though.
Beat the Odds is sponsored by Superbook Westgate Las Vegas.
The Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino. Legendary. Vegas. Fun. Enjoy Westgate's classic gaming and entertainment. Savor fine dining. And experience the world's largest sportsbook, Westgate Superbook. It's all at the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino.
Introducing the premium collection at Fanatics.com. Stylish fan gear for fashionable fans. Shop Wear by Aaron Andrews, DKNY, Darius Rucker, Mitchell and Ness, and more. Fanatics.com. Officially licensed everything.
You love our show. Now you can get even more from BeatTheOddsTV.com. Betting lines, trends, and analysis of the big games.
The difference between a bad beat and a big win.
BeatTheOddsTV.com.
Hey, welcome back to Beat the Odds, another great resource to boost up your sports betting knowledge. Hit that QR code. It will take you to our website, BeatTheOddsTV.com. Well, you'll get a nice headshot of the handsome Teddy right here. All right, let's do a deep dive into two games with Teddy. Let's start with Philly, New York. Teddy, what are some of the things you're looking at with that game?
Sure, it's a fascinating contest because here's a Philly team that has gone 0-4 against the spread down the stretch. A team that had a huge betting bandwagon earlier this season, not so much heading into the postseason, while the G-men right now have covered 5 in a row since they lost the first time to Philly. They're number 1 in the league point spread wise for the full season. They've been the single best point spread team this year.
How about that?
So one team's getting a lot of love from the public, the other not so much. And of course we have to be concerned about the bye week. Is it a disadvantage? Last year, both number 1 seeds lost straight up and against the spread. This weekend, sometimes that extra time to prepare can take the team's momentum away. And last but not least, we have to be concerned about the health of Philly's starting quarterback. How hurt is Hurts? He wasn't right in the season finale. He's had 2 weeks to rest up, and he's saying he's okay.
Right.
We'll find out this weekend.
No doubt. All right, two explosive offenses going at it in Buffalo. Cincy and Buffalo, what are you seeing there?
Oh, this should be a lot of fun. I mean, we talked about the G-Men as being the best point spread team in the league this year. Cincy's been the best point spread team in the league since the middle of last season. 20 wins, 4 losses, 1 push for Cincy. Since the mid-season last year, they've been outstanding against the spread. But we are talking about a team that started the same 5 on the offensive line for 15 straight weeks. They could be without 3 starters on that OL this weekend. That's a big concern. Buffalo did not play well in their win over Miami last week, but sometimes you find a team that survived in advance and figures it out. And of course, defensively, neither one of these teams is going to be facing a backup QB this time around.
All right, good stuff. Thank you, Teddy. I'm going to head on over to Mr. Brandon Marshall. We were actually talking before the show about the difference. You've played in 2 of those big games, won one, lost one. What was the difference between the 2 there, Brandon?
Well, you know, the team camaraderie we had in 2016 was just different than it was a couple years prior. But ultimately, I think it was a pass rush. You know, our pass rush was immaculate in that playoffs. The pressure we put on, you know, Big Ben, Tom Brady, and Cam Newton was unprecedented. So, you know, I think we had the best pass rush that year, also the best pass rush in the playoffs that season. So I think that was the big difference.
Yeah, you guys absolutely got after people, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at some of the defensive and defensive players left standing. We got 8 teams left.
Yeah.
Is there a team, a player, someone who you think could be a real difference maker here?
Yeah, well, let me start with New York. You know, Dexter Lawrence, he played crazy last week. Now, he didn't have a sack. He didn't record a sack, but he had 4 quarterback hits. He had pressure. The pressure that you put up in the middle, it definitely affected Kirk Cousins. And we're going to go to Dallas and Micah Parsons. You know, I think that's, you know, the obvious choice. But Micah is a true game wrecker. So to have that, if he could put that pressure on Brock Purdy, Dallas has a chance.
I was just going to say Brock Purdy's been fantastic, but he hasn't truly been tested by a really good defense yet.
Absolutely.
Do you think that could happen this weekend?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Dallas has a great defense. You know, they have on every level pass rush. They have linebackers, corner safeties. They play a really good brand of defensive football. Now, you know, Kyle Shanahan is great the way he, you know, the way he calls plays. But if you know, Dallas's you know, front 7 could wreak havoc, I think it'll be a good thing for them.
Look, we love all the offense and the scoring and everything, but you still got to have at least a respectable defense. Is there a defense out there that you think is good enough to carry their team all the way?
Man, you know, San Francisco. You know, with the #1 defense in the league this year, their defense, you know, could also obviously, you know, stall a young Brock Purdy just in case he kind of hits a rocky road, right? You know, I mean, look, they have weapons, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, but Brock Purdy's still a rookie, right? So if their defense can carry them, and they can carry them, I think they can make some noise in the playoffs.
All right, Brandon Marshall, as always, thank you, sir. Well, up next, Jack is back looking at the 2 other playoff games, including Dallas taking on Brock Purdy. Plus, Mariah chats with another champ. In fact, his team beat Brandon's team for the title. Sorry about that, bud.
It's all good, man. I understand.
As we take a timeout, Sam Hubbard set 2 records when he went 98 yards after recovering the fumble in last weekend's game versus Baltimore. What were they? Well, longest go-ahead touchdown in the 4th quarter and the longest fumble return for a touchdown in postseason history. How about that?
The Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino. Legendary. Vegas. Fun. Enjoy Westgate's classic gaming and entertainment. Savor fine dining. And experience the world's largest sportsbook, Westgate Superbook. It's all at the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino.
Welcome back inside our Las Vegas studios for Beat the Odds. Do you know which team has the most playoff road wins? The answer is Dallas with 14, but Dallas is also tied with Indianapolis for the 4th most playoff road losses at 17. So we'll see if they can improve their record this Sunday against a really good San Francisco team.
Hey, those Las Vegas casinos going to be jam-packed of football fans this weekend. Of course, always a great place to be. Scan that QR code. It's going to take you to another great place, our website, beattheoddstv.com. Now we're back with Jack to talk about the other 2 games this weekend. Dallas taking on San Francisco, Jacksonville in KC. So let's start there, Jack.
Yeah, a couple great games, right? I mean, this is a great weekend of football, especially when you're winning. We talk about bandwagon. Teddy was talking earlier. This first game, Kansas City, Jacksonville, not a lot of bandwagon lovers for either of these teams on the season. Neither of them had a profitable against the spread record. Jacksonville's gotten hot lately, covering 5 of their last 6. We saw what happened last week. But this will come down to defense and how well Jacksonville's secondary is able to stop the passing game of Kansas City and Mahomes. They're not very good at that part of it, and that's not a good place to start when you're playing Kansas City. And then it's going to be about what Kansas City does. Their personality this year has been when they play bad defenses, they've stayed under the total, kind of controlling the clock with their offense, not taking as many chances. When they play good defenses, San Francisco, Denver twice, they trended over the total. So what they do game plan wise will have a lot to do with the kind of the flow of the game this week.
And obviously maybe the biggest betting interest-wise game of the weekend, Dallas and San Francisco.
Yeah, this is going to be a great game. I mean, this is, but we talk about bandwagon. Both of these fans have been rewarded with their teams covering more times than not. Dallas 12-6 against the spread. San Francisco covered 11 times this year. So both these teams getting it done not only straight up but against the number. We talked a lot about the rookie quarterback with San Francisco, how much pressure Dallas is able to get with their front four. That's going to really determine the flow of this game. So there's a lot of storylines within the game that we can take a look at that we may not know till it starts.
All right. Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it as always. Now let's send it over to Mariah, who is standing by with a champ.
Not to dull Brandon's shine, but we got another champion on the show today. This guy actually won his championship against Brandon back in 2014 when Seattle kicked the living daylight out of Denver, and now we get to chat with him. Please give a warm welcome to former pro running back Robert Turbin. Robert, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. It's rainy in Seattle, so I'm working on staying dry as best I can. But other than that, it's all good.
It's all good. We love to hear it. Now let's get right into it. It's playoff time, the best time of year. We asked Brandon Marshall this question about defensive players earlier, but now I want to get your take on the other side of the ball. Who are some offensive players that you think will be big difference makers this weekend?
Well, I'm looking at Buffalo, and I'm looking at Nyheim Hines. We saw him take a couple kickoff returns back to the house, but we still haven't seen him have quite the impact on the offensive side of the ball as we thought we would when they acquired him from Indianapolis. I think that he's still a key player and a key piece for this football team, and once they figure out how to use him in this passing game, I think he can be really effective.
For sure, those kickoff returns were unbelievable. Now, you know this better than anyone. In your opinion, what does it take to win it all?
Well, it takes a lot. You have to have the ball bounce your way, quote unquote, right? We've heard that. You have to get lucky in some ways. My coach used to tell us you create your own luck by the work that you put in. But certainly you have to have a team that's together, that's really connected, that just knows each other in and out, right? You know where your guy's going to be next to you. You can depend on the guy next to you that he's going to do his job. And, really that's what it takes.
Yeah, for sure. Now, in addition to getting yourself a ring, you've also used the game of football to give back with efforts such as the Youth Football Academy and Running For You Foundation, which focuses on MS and cerebral palsy. Why'd you feel it was important to use your platform in this way?
Well, giving back is huge. When I was coming up as a kid, we weren't surrounded by a lot of professional athletes, and so I always, I told myself, man, if I ever got an opportunity to be a professional and play at the highest level, I was gonna give back to my community. MS and cerebral palsy mean a lot to me. Both of my sisters had those, diseases. Unfortunately, my oldest passed away when she was 21 of MS. I was about 6 years old, and my other sister was born with a severe form of cerebral palsy. And so, I pretty much grew up taking care of her, right, from a young age. And so, but she was the strongest person in our family. She was always the one that was most inspirational for me. And so giving back to those causes are a big deal.
Now, before I let you go, I've got to know your picks for the big game. Which two teams are making the trip to Arizona, do you think?
Oh, man. I picked Buffalo at the beginning of the season, so I'm going to stick with that. Obviously, the loss of Von Miller is huge, but what they've been able to overcome the last few weeks, I think, is even more profound. So I think that's going to lead the way for them. And in the NFC, man, I love San Francisco, but I think Philadelphia is just a little bit better than they are. So I got Philadelphia coming out of the NFC, and I've got Buffalo coming out of the AFC, and they're going to be in the big game.
What a matchup we got there. All right, Turbo, thank you so much for your time, and best of luck with everything you got going on.
Thank you.
All right, great interview. Thanks, Mariah. We're going to finish the show with top picks, see if the fellas can stay hot. Plus, the wheel of keeping it real. Today, the wheel is just being rude. It's going to reveal who among us threw 3 picks in their high school state football championship game. Ouch.
I wonder who that was. All right, did you know Dexter Lawrence's 8 QB pressures last weekend are the most by a defensive tackle in the postseason since 2014? Something tells me Jalen Hurts is going to be a bit harder to take down than Kirk Cousins, though.
coming at you from Las Vegas, the sports betting capital of the world.
You love our show. Now you can get even more from BeatTheOddsTV.com. Betting lines, trends, and analysis of the big games.
The difference between a bad beat and a big win.
The interviews, the stories, plus a unique spin on sports history. Your ticket to in-depth content as seen on the show is all at BeatTheOddsTV.com. Check it out today.
All right, welcome back in. We've got the OG fam back on the couch. Brandon's back in studio. All is right in the world.
A lot of gray going on, by the way.
And we're matching.
Hair too, right?
This bad beat, that bad beat, that bad.
Well, there haven't been a whole lot of bad beats with your guys' top picks. You guys have been red hot. Let's keep it going, huh?
So far, so good. Yeah, I like under in Cincinnati Buffalo. I think Cincinnati has to run the ball effectively to stay in the game. Their offensive line is down, and they've had trouble running the ball, but they have to go there. It's going to slow the game, also like under in the first half. But Buffalo also trending under in the more important the games get. So I like under the total in the Cincinnati Buffalo game.
All right, Teddy?
Oh, let's go out to San Francisco and take a look at Dallas, plus the points in this one. Look, this is a dominant Dallas defense. Remember, they went 4-1 straight up and against the spread when Dak was hurt and Cooper Rush was behind center. That's how good this defense has been. They got the monkey off their backs last week, finally got the playoff win, first postseason win since 2018, and they're on a little bit of a revenge tour. Remember, they got revenge versus Tampa. Now they're in revenge for a playoff loss last year against the same San Francisco team. And of course, we look at San Fran, say, oh, they're battle tested. Well, maybe not so much. They've only played one game, San Fran, against teams still standing, the top 8 teams in the league. And in that one game against those top 8 teams, against KC, they lost at home by 3 touchdowns. I like Dallas plus the points.
All right. Excellent. Well, now it's time for the wheel and keeping it real. Our 5 heads, Vegas-style slot machine. I'm told today the wheel will reveal who among us threw 3 picks in their high school state championship game.
Sheesh.
Let's spin it.
I was going to say, is it me?
Oh, no.
That's not crazy.
I would have thrown 4, but the guy dropped it.
Dallas's kicker, and you could learn. You're not who you were in that game. I went to the mall one time for 2 hours and had my fly down the entire time. That does not mean that every time I go to the mall, I'm the dude with the fly down. I pulled it up, I moved on with my life. Dallas kicker could learn from that. Certainly, we don't hold you accountable for one game in high school.
That's an analogy I was not expecting.
That's the nicest thing he's ever said on this show.
Wow.
Seems like you were point shaving.
Exactly.
I was point shaving in high school. All right. Well, on that note, let's say thanks to everybody for watching, and we'll see you next week right here on Beat the Odds. Jack.